and welcome back. After the small break from our voices, we will continue with the presentation from Niko Group. This is a Belgian company. You know that in English language they call the fried potatoes as a French fries. So maybe our Belgian friends will say what is the really about this. But nevertheless, they will talk more about KNX and DALI situations. And I would like to introduce Mrs. Karin Muchet, Mr. Torben, and who will talk more about DALI systems. So, can we start? Hello?
Good morning,
I don't
everybody.
hear you. Oh, okay, hi.
Good morning. Could you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you. So please, you can start your presentations or explain about the fried potatoes or French fries, why it's called so.
Yeah, it's nice of you to introduce us with some food, because that is actually something that we value a lot in Belgium, but I think all around the world as well. So by means of a short introduction, I would like to tell you something about the company Niko. Some of you may know Niko, others maybe less, but Niko is actually an international manufacturer of electronic solutions. We have our headquarters in Belgium and several offices around Europe. This is why, just to give you an idea, I myself am based in Belgium, but my colleagues Torben and Jorn, they are situated in Denmark. So we come to you from more or less around Europe. Thank you for the introduction. And on my part, I first of all want to thank the company Lucidus for giving us a platform to share our ideas and our current portfolio on sensors. As I already stated, Niko is a manufacturer of electronic solutions. We have a lot more in our portfolio, but today it will be all about our offer on sensors. For us, it is very important to share with our customers the values we have at Niko. So I would like to take a small opportunity of running them with you. Our main values at Niko is first and most importantly is quality. We are a company that was established more than 100 years ago, and throughout our history, quality has been our main focus. This is why we are well perceived by the market as being a very reliable partner. One other element in our actually in our DNA is our focus on design. We have dedicated teams in research and development and in design that focus on delivering easy solutions to the market, whereby we always try to assess how people installing our solutions perceive the way our solutions work and get installed. So that is a very important element to us. Alongside with design, we also have our focus on innovation. Our design and R&D teams constantly look at the market, at the world around us, to see where we can make our products even better than they are today. So that is a constant focus for us as a company and throughout all the teams involved in developing our solutions. And one element we also value very much, this is of course something that has developed in recent years, we try to be a very sustainable company, which has which reflects on how we, for example, exploit our production plant, where we use solar energy, we recycle our wastewater and our plastics where possible. So this is in a nutshell what Niko stands for. Then I would like to take you to on a small route into history, just to give you an idea of what Niko is actually about. As I already said, the company was founded in Belgium in 1919. That seems a very long way, but still it is something that is part of what makes us a company. The company was founded by two brothers, and what they first launched was switches and sockets, because 1919 was actually the time when electrical installations in the houses became popular, and they believed in these solutions, and so they started the company based on that. You can see some elements in the timeline of Niko. I will go directly to the 60s, where we first launched our flat switch, which was kind of a major innovation, and also the first dimmer. Taking us a few years later, another milestone in the development of our company was the introduction of our first home automation solution, which was called Niko Bus. This has since been replaced by, of course, more recent developments, which I will come back to later. Since the 1990s, we have developed, so from Niko Bus to Niko Home Control, which is now a second generation solution. And in the course of the years that followed our need of expansion, we acquired some businesses in Europe, amongst others, the company Servodan and the company Zublin, which is why, of course, we now have a very extended portfolio of sensors, and the reason why we are here today. Last element you see on the timeline is our most recent launch of the Digital Black, which is actually a small touch screen on Niko Home Control that enables you to manage quite a number of features of the Niko Home installation in a home. But enough about the general portfolio. I will take you to, of course, the topic of today, the sensors, the detectors, of which my colleagues Torben and Jorn will tell you much more. Just in a nutshell, our main focus at Niko is making buildings work better. So be it residential buildings, so for people to live in, but also buildings to work in or to stay in any kind of form. And this is where, of course, amongst others, sensors come in. We have an extended portfolio on residential sensors. And as they are meant to do, of course, they switch lighting automatically. But we also have some, in portfolio, we have also sensors that can operate daylight adjustment. And even when we come to outdoor sensors, there are some in the portfolio that have pet immunity, which is very convenient in many cases. As I said, we do not only offer sensors for the residential market, but we also have a very large portfolio for any kind of project which is not residentially based. And all sensors speak, of course, the relevant protocols. So we have DALI, KNX, and other BMS solution possibilities. So what do our detectors mean for your projects? I think it's obvious, stating the obvious, that with the Niko sensors, you can work towards more energy efficiency in your buildings. You can create sustainable buildings, because that is really what this world is about. When using the Niko sensors, these elements also provide you the relevant comfort that you need from your lighting installation. So that is what is possible with the Niko detectors. As I already said, we offer detectors for a variety of projects. My colleagues will show you the features, and you will immediately be able to relate them to projects you may have. And one final point is that we also offer detectors in a variety of designs. So This concludes my short introduction, and I would like to pass the floor on to Torben, my Danish colleague, for a more in-depth presentation of the portfolio. Thank you.
Production into Niko.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
now we are having a great flight to Denmark. And please, about DALI.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Pleased to be invited here to your session. My name is Torben Gehlert. I'm a product manager at the Niko Group. I have the pleasure, in order to sort of fly into the more of the details of DALI, another part of the DALI standard. Instead of a street light, we are now going to commercial buildings and see what actually can be offered there in order to have a sustainable and comfort environment at your workplace, wherever you are. So it could be in an office, it could be in a school or whatever. So I would like to, in the first part, I go for the basic DALI. What is DALI when we are talking about commercial buildings and not outdoor for street light, as you just heard from the previous introduction or presentation we have. So I will try to catch up some of the basic of DALI, so we have a base to understand what it actually means and how to use it, and for the benefit of your products. DALI is now a standard. It's a shortened, it's a digital addressable lighting interface. That means it's a system for lighting control. It's not a BMS system, but it is a system for lighting. And now it is an international standard, and it's in Europe norm and in ESC standard 62386. So if you stick to that standard, you are sure that you can actually solve your products with different brands or different suppliers of different in your products. So it can choose around, it could be ballast, it could be luminous, it could count on drivers, even have dimmers, DALI relays, transformers, control panels, converters, and so on. If you stick to that standard, it's a guarantee for that it will work together, because we are referring to the same standard and the same protocol. So if you are the building owner, if you are an installer, if you're a specifier, you can stick to that standard and choose among a variety of suppliers in your product. As long as you stick to the standard, you are it's a base for success, so to speak. The DALI's installation, so to speak. This is the main. We have a power supply, and for that power supply we have the DALI bus. This is only for 2 wires, and this DALI bus we have here is acting as a supplier to all our devices that we have in a DALI installation, but it's also for the communication. So this DALI bus has 2 ways. It has for communication and has to supply all our devices that we have in our installation. The devices that we have, we divide them into 2 different. We have all the devices that are connected to the mains. That means the 230 volt. And this is all we have here. It could be a relay, it could be a dimmer, a transformer, it could be a ballast, whatever. This we call the control gear. In order to control these devices, this is called control devices here. And this could be a detector, potentiometer, or whatever. This was what we call the original basis for DALI. And this is the logo of DALI. It's kind of symbolize a globus that we have, and we have the DALI in the 4 letters you have, in order to say, okay, this is a global standard that you can have. But as time evolved, say, why don't we have only the control devices? That means connected to the mains. Why don't we have the control devices as long in the same standard? And that work has been going on for years now. And now we have kind of the DALI 2 standard in place. Sorry for the noise. That means that we have now input devices, and we still have the control gear up here connected to the mains. Instead of directly, as we had in DALI 1, directly from the input devices are controlling the control gear, we now have an application controller. And along with the application controller, we have a DALI gateway. And this gateway is actually supplying the DALI bus. And you can have all the input devices that you can set up with the control application controller that we have here. So that means that now we have a system, we have a DALI system where you can actually can commission both the control gear and the input devices in the same system. That's a great advantage when you have in operating in commercial buildings. That means you can actually have both in the same way. As you may have heard of the previous presentation here this morning, the standard is about the designed by the DALI Alliance. Along we have the DALI 2, along with the DI4, as you have for street lighting. Now is another part of that. All the products that are certified for the DALI 2, you can actually find here on this website. That means all the products are listed here. All the certified DALI 2 products are listed in this website here. The advantages that we have of DALI, it's only for lighting control, but it's a very simple digital communication, 2 luminaires, 2 relays, etc., etc. It's a very easy installation. We only have 2 wires for the DALI bus, and these 2 wires, it's a tutorial-free installation that can have. What we can on this bus, we can actually control either individual devices, a group of devices, or you can control all devices at the same time. That's what we call a broadcast communication. Due to the simple structure of data, there's no interruption of the DALI communication. That means that both the mains, that means the 240 volt, and the DALI bus can be in the same cable. So that's of the installation part. Of the more what we can have, that now we can actually communicate, or we can get feedback for our control gear. That means we can actually ask a question to one of the luminaires or to all luminaires. What are your actual light level? That means we can ask a question, and a question in DALI is a query light level. And then we have a response. That means we can actually have a feedback from the luminaires to say, okay, what is your light level? And also for maintenance, could be a facility manager or something. Can I ask, I have a lamp failure? And that means we can say, okay, now this lamp is broken. It had to be replaced. We can read out the actual commissioning. That means the fade time, fade rate. I'll explain that a little later. The minimum and action, and so on. And this, what it is simple commissioning of the DALI groups that we have, and it's very much suitable for light scenes. You can have different light levels, and as the previous presentators, sorry for the noise, said that okay, what we have here, the colors, it could be tunable light, or as you said, human-centric lighting, and that means we have to have special device type 8. That means this is the device type that can be color changed. The dimming curve that we have with the DALI luminaires, it's actually matching the sensitivity of the eye, because it's not a linear dimming, it's a logarithmic dimming that we have. So that is also one of the great advantages that we have of DALI. The data speed that we have on the DALI bus is very, very low. It's around 1200 baud, and that doesn't matter, that speed. It's not an aim or goal to have high speed as possible, because DALI is always event driven, and you only have the two control line. That means the DALI bus. It's very. Sorry, I had to stop this noise. Just a minute.
So I see that there are some technical issues with the sound. I hope that we will solve it down, because even with the DALI protocols you have to build sometimes. So we are trying to solve this issue. But DALI, it's not about Salvador DALI. It's about digital lighting interface, and that's why it's very important to have those networks correctly built. And it's also important to get more information back from luminaires. So are you back? Is it okay now with the sounds?
Sorry, I had to stop the noise, because otherwise you can't hear me.
Okay. So can
I'm
we
back now.
continue the presentation now with DALI?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
sorry.
So we are back to you and then looking for your sound. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, okay. The voltage that we have on the DALI bus is had a nominal. It could be 16 volt, it could be 13 volt, it could be whatever. The standard says that it have to be between 9.5 up to 22.5 volt DC. It's direct current we have here. What is one of the most important thing is that the power supply, the DALI power supply, is that they have a maximum of 250 milliamps, and that means it's just the biggest, the highest amount of current that is allowed on the DALI bus. And that means each time you put on one device on the DALI bus, it could be a luminaire. It contains up to, or supply up to 2 milliamps in general for this each luminaire. It could also have, if you have a kind of a multi-detector or whatever, it consumes a little bit more. So we have to calculate that it's okay. You will never extend the 250 milliamps that we have. Normally, that's not the limitation. The limitation is that the number of luminaire that could be on one DALI bus. There's 6 digits in combination, and that means a total of 64 different addresses that we can have on one DALI bus. It can be extended in certain special occasions. It is possible to extend that. The number of groups that is limited to 16, and that means you can have on the DALI bus up to 16 different lighting controls. As your DALI 2 input, it up to 32 groups. And the light scenes that we have is a maximum of 16. The lighting controls or light scenes, it is possible. About the cable is done. Use a standard 5-wire cable, and they have sure that they have the line with the brown and then the neutral. This is the light blue here, and then you have the protecting earth is the green yellow color, and then you have the 2 DALI buses lines here. It could be the black and the gray one. As you mentioned here, there's no plus or minus because it's battery free. So it's up to you what it is, what to do. But choose a cable that is and a good standard, because you don't want to have, due to the voltage drop that we have, it's a maximum of 2 voltage drop is allowed on the DALI bus. The DALI can be used normally for a lot of things of controlling luminaires. One of the things that can be we can use it for daylight control, and depending of the regulation or the requirement that is in a building, you can have daylight control based on this DALI protocol. We have here a schematic drawing of the how a room could look like, and there we see we have 3 light zones, And the light zones that we have here is zone 1, and zone 1 is always nearest to the incoming daylight. We have zone 2 and zone 3. And the idea of having a daylight control is that we can actually dim the lights here, the luminaires, according to the incoming daylight. That means the luminaires, the light zones that is nearest to the incoming daylight, have to be dimmed more than we have the other two zones. The detector here is actually placed mounted on the ceiling and in measuring both artificial light and incoming daylight. And according to how much incoming daylight we have, the detector will automatically dim the luminaires according to that, what we have. To do that, we have different kind of solutions. We have a DALI addressable detector. That means we can address all the luminaires into the DALI bus. It doesn't need to be separate wiring for each luminaire. Is all connected to the same DALI bus. The detector, as you see here, have all included. That means have the power supply on board, DALI power supply on board. They have a detector that has a lens that is a peer detector. And from the detector, we have here a DALI bus. And to that DALI bus, we can actually connect up to 4 different light zones. These light zones could all either be daylight control, or it could be non-daylight control, what called a secondary zone. We have built in the within the detector, there's a built-in potential-free relay, and this relay have a lot of options. It could be that we have non-dimmable DALI lights, luminaires that had to be controlled. That means we can choose them for controlling on or off as a light. It could also be that we have an integration of the HVAC system or the ventilation system. That means when there's somebody in the room, it will be detected by the detector and automatically give information to either a decentralized or centralized ventilation system in order to turn on the ventilation if needed when there's somebody is present. If you want to have the more energy efficiency, we can actually put in a relay in order to cut off power to the luminaire. So we have 0 standby minimization. That means there's no power consumption when there's nobody present in the room, in order to higher our energy or lower the energy consumption that we have in the room. There's one relay built in, but if you want to have more control, that means you have both for the non-dimmable lighting, and you have also for HVAC. We can put on the DALI bus a standard DALI relay that has exactly the same functionality as the built-in relay. If you want to control it, that means override it, we can actually connect 230 volt push button in order to override it or to manually dim. But it's not that lucky for everybody. If you want to dim the light, you have to press the push button and you can to hold it. Sometimes it's easier for people to have a potentiometer. That means if you like to override it manually, you can just turn the potentiometer clockwise, and then you raise the light level. Or you can, on the opposite, you can turn it anti-clockwise, and then you lower the light level. It's also possible if you like to have some kind of scenarios. You can put in a 224 volt push button along with an interface connected to the DALI bus, and you can actually program like you want to. Sometimes it is not easy to have a wired solution. That means a wired push button. It could also be that in some commercial buildings, you like to have a transparent environment. That means you have a lot of glass walls in order to have the transparency. And in that case, it's not easy to mount or install a wired push button. In that case, we have some luminaires or some detectors with the built-in Ocean wireless technology. That means we have a wireless and a battery-free push button. So you can just ask, where is the engine, or where is the power actually come from? That is a genetic push button. That means the physical push that you have generates the power and transmits the data from the push button to the detector. Of course, the detector needs to have a built-in receiver in order to do that. We are using the Ocean standard for that purpose. And it is a well-known standard and it's operating. If you want to have the same configuration, you have the options to do that. You can build in, it could be free zone daylight control, it could be 1 or 2 secondary zones. If you have 2 daylight zones, you have up to 2 secondary zones. There's a total of 4 daylight zones, and how you divide it is kindly nearly up to you. So in order to decide that. We need always two zones for daylight control. There's also an option if you want to lower your cost or higher your flexibility of using of the luminaires. You can actually have a multizone. And the multizone could be if you have a board, it could be a blackboard or whiteboard or whatever. And sometimes these luminaires could be part of a daylight zone, and sometimes it's a part of the lighting zone for the blackboard or the whiteboard. So that's in order to minimize the installation cost and have a more flexible installation of the luminaires. Sometimes we do discover that a luminaire is broken and we have to replace it. And for that, we have built in a kind of auto configuration terminology or functionality. That means if the luminaire has to be replaced, you just replace it one at a time, and it will automatically gain the configuration that has for the broken one. It will automatically be transferred into the replaced luminaire. That means the maintenance part is very, very easy to do. Different kind of light scenarios and also day and night functionality. I'll get back to some of the in a little bit later. If you want to have the choice, the ease of choice of detectors, there are 2 different options, either for flush mounting or for surface mounting. I would say that both of them are IP54, so it can be used in every environment for indoors use. The environment that we offer for you is that we have one for the masters for flush mounting, and the other one is for surface mounting, and then you have the slaves, and the slaves that is okay also for flush mounting and for surface mounted. These detectors here, they are according to the IEC standard 62386, and that means it follows exactly the same rules and when it have to be installed and initiated and so on. The installation is that, okay, you have an optimal use of DALI standard because we are following this standard, and it will done automatically. You don't need to do anything. The detector will take care of that, so you don't need to think about that. You can change, you can redefine zones by the configuration, not by wiring or rewiring. You just move one detector from one zone to another. It's done by the commissioning part is done by the smartphone and the Niko detector tool app, along with the dongle, ear dongle. I'll show it a little bit later. And you can also change that. So with DALI addressable, and we utilize the DALI standard optimally. What the detector does actually is that when you have to initialize and do the commissioning, it will show that by flashing red and green, and it automatically starts with one device. All luminaires will light at 100%, and one detector is found and given an address, it will be shut off or dimmed down and be given an address. And then we have the next detector also given an address, and that's done automatically, and it will continue until all the devices are given an address. And that time, when it's all given an address, it's yours to decide in which zone is that luminaire actually mounted in, and that will be done tell by the app that we have here, and together with the dongle that sends an infrared communication to the detector. You just press the app, okay, this is in zone 1, and you assign that, and then you go to the next one, and you assign each and every detector, and you tell it which zone it actually is mounted in. And when it is done, the detector will actually show you that now it's done. In order to have the calibration of the luminaires of the detector, you have the incoming daylight here, and the detector does it automatically. It automatically do a calibration, and it is in order to utilize or find out the detector, the luminaires, how much influence have luminaires in zone 1, in zone 2, and in zone 3. And that is done by the daylight factor that is already pre-configured into the detector. And we have a daylight factor of 2. That means that 2% of the outdoor lighting, daylight here, we can actually use indoor. And the 1.5 is that 1.5% of the daylight we can actually use here in zone 2 and 1% in zone 3. So the detector will automatically adjust so you have the light level that is required. And that is what for the standard said, okay, if it's in an office, you need 300 lux on your table or your desk. That is. So that is basically how this detector is operating. I'll now go through kind of the highlights of the functionality that we offer in these DALI detectors. We have the multizone I was shortly introducing for, and the great advantages of the multizone that you have full utility of the luminaires. You can actually, okay, this is requiring fewer luminaires, less wiring, and fast installation. So this is ideal for board lighting and the smart boards that we have. That's some of the luminaires that we have here. Sometimes is a member of the board lighting, and sometimes it is a member of the daylight zone that we have. The most popular, so to speak, functionality that we have is the auto configuration. That means that the new luminaire automatically takes over the address and the settings set from the luminaire that is replaced due to broken or whatever. It is not necessary to make a new configuration when replacing one of the luminaires. And for the end user, that means it's a quick and easy service for the and maintenance of the lighting system. If you had a little illustration of how it's operating, this luminaire at the right-hand side is broken and it had to be replaced. We just replaced the luminaire, put in a new one, and when it is done, we actually power up again, and within 10 seconds, all the settings from the previous luminaire or the broken luminaire has been adapted to the new luminaire, and that's why, and that the detector here has a kind of same settings put in the database. That means in its database here in the detector, it have all the data for each and every luminaire that we have on the DALI bus here. So that's a quick and way to do it. Um, as I said, with the DALI installation, there's one power supply in each and every DALI installation. But sometimes it is necessary in order to communicate between two DALI buses. That means if you have two master detectors, you like to have to cooperate together. And we can do that just with wiring. We have to have a device between. And this device we have between is a link module. That means it's a module that can link one or more DALI buses together with more power supplies. This solution can be used if you, for instance, have, it could be a folding door solution. That means we have to communicate with one or more masters. This is an easy way of doing it. Well, the link module is actually supply the communication through the DALI bus. It is done without any programming or any software from the PC. It's actually done by the app. And this solution here is a most low cost compared to a conventional BMS system. It could be rather a KNX system or another BMS system. Actually, how it operates is that if you have a folding door and there is a master detector in each of the two rooms, and between that we have a folding door. You have a kind of a magnet here, and you have a switch over here, and it is connected to the DALI module that we have here. The DALI module is connected to the DALI buses on each side of the folding door. That means the DALI module is powered by either this master or this master they have here. So what we have to do is that we can put in, if we are entering this room here and you switch on the light, and if the folding door is open, the light will switch on in this room and in this room as well. In between, we have the DALI link module in order to control the communication between this master detector and this master detector. You can also, if you dim the light here manually, it will dim it in this room and you will dim it in this room. That means we can synchronize the functionality between the two masters if the folding door is open. If the folding door is closed, it operates separately. That means there's no connection between this master and this master, only when the folding door is open. The same can we do if you have, it could be adjacent area, that we have an office here and an office here, and we have a corridor here. If there's somebody present in these offices, could be this office or in another office here, there will be some light in the corridor. That means you can decide by adjusting the DALI module, you can decide the light level in the corridor if there's still somebody present here. And by the end of the day, when they are left all the offices, the light in the corridor will automatically switch off in order to have no power consumption and have a higher comfort. It could also be that in big office open spaces, you have different masters in order to have controlling the luminaires differently in an open space office. But if you're sitting alone here in one dark evening, you have lights according to requirement that could be 300 lux, but you don't like to feel alone. That means in the other areas here, you have some light on a desired light level. That means the comfort that you have if you're looking down at your desk, you have, of course, a light level that you acquired, But if you are looking out in the room, it will not be a total dark. That means that you have higher comfort and you're not feeling alone, and you are more secure in that area. So this is another option they have in order not to feel alone, and you have the secureness that is provided. As I said earlier, that if you have more than 64 devices, DALI devices on DALI bus, what is the limitation due to the number of combination that we have? You can put in, it could be a stock, or it could be a sports hall or whatever. We have a lot of luminaires. That means we have a master and several slaves in order to have cover the area. You can actually put in a DALI module here and a power supply to supply the other part of the DALI bus. That means you can have more than 68 devices, DALI luminaires on one DALI bus if you do it like that. It could also be in another way. It could be the sports hall here, that you have two masters instead of one, and then you don't need a power supply in order to supply the other half of the DALI bus in the sports hall, but you still need the DALI link module in order to have the communication between the two masters. It could also be an advantage if you have daylight control, that they have two master detectors here, because this master detector here is actually controlling the luminaires according to the incoming daylight that we have from the windows. It could be from facing east, and this one could be facing west. That means we have during the day a different incoming level of the daylight, so it had been controlled in a much smoother way that it is in only one master detector. For the light scenarios, you can have different light scenarios, up to 4 different light scenarios that is possible to have, and you can control it, and you could commission it not by a PC or software, but also with the dongle and the app on your smartphone. You can configure by using your app on your smartphone, and together with the dongle, you can actually configure the light level, the light scenes that you actually require for your specification. And they can be recalled, the light scene, either by a remote control, by the app, or by push buttons. That means you can have different scenarios activated by using either the light remote control or push buttons. In order to higher comfort in the commercial buildings, you can have different functionality during day and during night, and then have a higher energy efficiency. That means you can have input it from when to switch from day mode to night mode. It could be a timer, it could be a day and night switch, whatever. So you just need something to switch upon that. The configuration is done again with the Niko detector tool app, and there's no PC program in that. The different functionality in day mode, you can say, okay, when there's somebody present, I would like to have a daylight control. That means, okay, you have the light intensity according to the incoming daylight. And when there's nobody present, and say, okay, I would like to have a standby minimization, a standby orientation light level, and that could be that it's switching off when it's sufficient daylight, if that is necessary. In night mode, you say, okay, when there's somebody present, I have a daylight intensity. That means you have a kind of light level. It could be a higher level, and when there's nobody present, there's a lower light level that could be configured. You have here, it could be a hallway in a care home. And we have a day-and-night switch here in order to tell when it is day-night and day mode, and when it is in night mode. So that is configured here by the app. And so in day mode, when there's somebody present, there is daylight control, and when there's nobody present, we have orientation light level. In night mode, you can either activate the night mode by just detecting motion, or you can have a push button in order to activate the light level 1. There's nobody present to say, okay, now I go to a certain light level, or I can even switch it off if that necessary or wanted. The push button, it could be something like it only have a possibility to turn on the light, not turn off the light if you is necessary. In order to commission all it, it's the Niko detector tool app, and this detector tool app can be used in each different kind of smartphone. You use the app and the infrared dongle, and the dongle is in order to have infrared communication to the detector. The app is built like that. It is not only for DALI detectors, it's a whole range of different detectors that can be commissioned by this app. And it is kind of user-friendly because you're actually guided through the app step by step, and you can actually do in a structured way. You can have a template. If you have a lot of detectors that could be configured equally or the same way, you can store that as a template and just upload this configuration to each and every detector you have in your project. What is needed is that we have the universal dongle, and it fits to a mini jack socket. But the modern kind of smartphone don't have these sockets, so you can use an adapter for that. It fits to all brands and models of the smartphone that we have. The universal app is for either Android or for Apple iOS, so it can be downloaded either for App Store or from Google Play. Yeah, that was my presentation. I think I will give the words to my colleague Jan in order to continue.
So thank you very much for much information on the DALI side. So it was, I think, very interesting on that. And can we connect to another presenter in Denmark to know more about KNX and KNX possibilities, not only DALI? Hi.
That's right. Good morning to you, and I'm also happy to be part of the Lucidus training today. My name is Jørgen Hulmkjær, and I'm part of the Niko group as well, and working as the product manager. I will give you an overview of the new, actually upcoming detectors from Niko. You will be some of the first to know about it. So the information is both limited and really fresh from R&D. But what we will launch later this year is 4 new detectors. These 4 new detectors will replace almost, or not almost, but will replace our existing portfolio of nearly 40 different detectors. And even 2 of the detectors will cover nearly all different requirements for presence and motion detection. The detectors is also, in my opinion, really visible, striking, and almost invisible. The range includes a very discrete flat lens version. I will show you some pictures later on. Tom, could you please go back? We also will have a new mini detector, a detector that is small enough to be integrated into ceiling finishing profiles. We are talking about a drill diameter of roughly 3 centimeters only. And we also have interchangeable deco rings in both black and white. On the detection performance, the KNX detectors are able to perform or to detect motion and presence up to 40 meters. We have installation heights up to 10 meters. And if you want to do other measurements beyond presence and lighting control, you will also have 5 extra channels available, for instance, HVAC, etc. Another important thing is that the detectors are measured according to the IEC norm 36180. I will come into that a bit later. It's a totally new standard that we have been measuring against, and it will give you as a customer really what you see is what you get, detection performance. But let's have a look at the new detectors. So yes, thank you. So this is the new detector range. On the top we have the mini presence detector. It's for flash mounting, flush mounting, and comes with a black deco ring if you want it in black as well. And as I just mentioned before, the drill diameter for this one is only roughly 3 centimeters or even below 3 centimeters. So it's a really, really tiny, almost invisible detector. Then we have the more normal presence detectors as well. It's a bigger size, but still I think it's a really nice design. And here you come with the black deco ring as well. And the only thing you need to do to have it in black is to replace the white deco ring and then just mount the black one instead. Then we also have the motion detectors, both in black and white. These are more standard detectors, but still very good in detection performance. And then we have the last one is the high ceiling detector as well for flush mounting boxes. And yeah, again, black and white. But these detectors in total can cover, I will say, all your needs. So let's go to the next, just to give you a hint up on the mounting options. For the Mini, it's only flush mounting, which also makes very good sense because it's really small and needs to be more or less invisible. For the other detectors, there are flush mounting box and surface mounting available as well. And for instance, for the presence detector, if you want to mount it in a flush mounting box, you just remove the springs and can mount it as well. And as Torben indicate, there's only one color available for the flush mounting box, but again, it's not visible, so let's keep the portfolio as small as possible. So what I also want to share with you is that we are setting the standard. So what you see is what you get. And by that, I mean that the sensors or the detectors that we will bring onto the market in the future will all be measured according to the IEC 3618 standard. It's a standard where you measure the detection range of performance in a controlled environment. It's even possible to do repetitive tests, and it can be done either by robots or dummy or by a human body. But the new thing here is also that both are very detailed specified, so you cannot just decide yourself as a supplier what kind of body or robot you want to use. The requirements for the controlled environment is that, of course, the temperature is in place. Something like relative humidity is also very strict and specified. air movement from ventilations or air conditions should be at a very, very low level, so it will have no effect on the detection performance. And of course, no direct sunlight can be present in the laboratory. And here I just took some of the requirements. For instance, for a human body, it has to have a height of 1.7 meter, plus minus 10 centimeters. Even the weight is specified. It's also that you need to be dressed in a tight fitting. That's why I put on a sport leg, because you cannot have a big shirt or a beautiful dress or something like that on. It should be really tight fitting so that you have accurate measurements. And the temperature is also need to be specified above a certain ambient room temperature. Another thing is that when you as a supplier are measuring with human body, then you need the icon right next to the lady. This will then indicate for you as a customer, okay, these measurements are done by human. Test can also be done by test dummy. Again, a specified height. The temperature of both head, body, and leg can be controlled independently, so it more or less reflects a human body. And as you can see, there are also very specific requirements for the size of it. And the temperature that can be have to be adjusted according to ambient temperature of the test room as well. And if you want to, let's say, measure your detector at a height of 20 meters or something like that, it's not necessary to find a room that fits that. Then you scale down your dummy so that you have the possibility to test it in that way instead. Another test which can be done is a test for minor detection. Again, the specification for this arm is very strict, and it should be able to rotate both horizontal and vertical from 0 to 90 degrees. The speed of the movement is also very specified. And the good thing, at least for us as a supplier, is that this test can be done independently from the other tests. So you can actually have this test done in your own facility and only need to go to the laboratory for the other tests. And again, the icon for using a robot is shown here. So when you use the robot or the dummy for testing, then you put in this icon. And all these icons and specifications are part of the IEC norm. So I hope we can start the video now, because now we're going into the METAS test lab, just to give you an idea of how this is, how the test lab is working and how the test is performed.
Verfahren standardisieren kann. Diese Überlegungen flossen nun in die publizierte Norm IEC 63180 ein, nachdem nun solche Sensoren geprüft werden. Die Prüfanlage am METAS ist nun weltweit die erste unabhängige Prüfanlage, welches es erlaubt, solche Sensoren gemäß IEC auszumessen. Die meisten Bewegungs- und Präsenzsensoren basieren auf pyroelektrischen Sensoren. Das sind Sensoren, welche Temperaturänderungen detektieren können. Der Messplatz besteht im Wesentlichen aus Dummies, die sind gewärmt, die werden menschliche Körper nachbilden, und es werden 3 Messungen durchgeführt. Einerseits eine radiale Messung, wenn sich eine Person radial auf den Sensor zubewegt, und andererseits eine tangentiale Messung, wenn sich Personen tangential zum Sensor bewegen. Und zum Schluss gibt es noch eine Präsenzmessung, das heißt, es werden dort kleine Bewegungen detektiert, Beispielsweise, wenn eine Person an einem Pult sitzt und dann den Arm bewegt, damit sich nicht die Leuchte ausschaltet. Die Anlage ist so konstruiert, dass wir auch für zukünftige Sensortechnologien gerüstet sind. Beispielsweise entwickeln im Moment die Anlage weiter, um Hochfrequenzsensoren und auch kamerabasierte Sensoren ausmessen zu können. Die Daten, die von dieser Anlage gemessen werden, können dann von Lichtplanern verwendet werden, um Straßenzüge oder ganze Büroräume dann verlässlich mit solchen Sensoren und Leuchten zu planen. Dies führt dazu, dass man dann weitere Energiesparziele und auch Klimaziele erfüllen kann.
Okay, so thank you for the video. So can you run your presentation again, because we switched it off during the video?
Yeah, I need to have Torben to do that. Torben, can you enable that again?
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I saw some comments on the subtitles were not visible, but it more or less, I know it was German, and but it more or less just told what I already explained to you, that these dummies are moving towards and to side of the detector.
But the video, it was from your test site, what you are doing in factories for all the sensors.
Yeah, it is. It's from the test lab that we use.
Okay. Okay. So can we continue the presentation?
Yeah, I hope. Tom, are you still there?
Okay.
Are you seeing the
You
presentation?
need to start the presentation again.
As I see that there are those new standards on the detector working, that these are coming just recently, because some years ago it was no standards on how they should perform.
No, that's right. And that's the big advantage for you as a customer, because you now have reliable tests. It's not up to the supplier anymore to decide which detection range has this detector. This is totally specified in the standard, so you are not able to do your own interpretation on when detector is detected.
So if seeing those icons, then we must be sure that someone has tested the sensors either with real human body or the robot.
Yeah, and especially when it's testing according to the IEC norm. That's the most important part of the thing, because you can still specify your own body and your own dummy, but again, this IEC standard, if every supplier is integrating this, then you will, as a customer, be able to compare different detectors. And even for us as a supplier, it's also a good tool, because now we know what we have measured is what is being detected.
We have a common reference, so that everybody knows that the tests have been performed in the same way, and then these are the same rules. And what about
Correct.
the detection radius? Is there some also how we should state the radius by radar, by diameter, by radius? How it's?
Yeah, it's also in this way that you everything is specified there. The way it's working is that while the dummy is moving forth and back towards both tangential and radial towards the detector, then it will register when you have a detection or not. And then afterwards, these these measurements can then decide the detection range. And there are some clear rules on when do you have a detection and when do you not have it. For instance, if you walk across the detector, then 50% of the measurements should be inside this detection range. I was hoping that Torben could find the last slide.
I opened the presentation, but I'm not sure if you can see it.
I can see something on my screen, but I don't know if the
Oh,
audience.
yes,
Does
yes,
anybody
we do
else
see
see
it.
it?
We do see the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I will.
Just go to the last slide.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't share, somebody else is sharing.
I think this
Okay.
is the last slide, Bjorn.
No, it's not.
No, you are
No?
just sharing not the right screen, I think, because you are sharing the technical part of it.
Yeah, you're sharing Snagit. I can see. You're not sharing PowerPoint.
But one more question about the detection. There is commonly about movement and presence detection. Is it
Yes.
somehow stated also in standard, detecting the movement and presence? So this is between those full body and just arm movements, or there are some other?
No, that's why we, for instance, for presence, we use the minor detection mode where the arm is only moving up
Okay.
and down. That's for
Okay.
presence detection. But yeah, here's my last slides, which
Yeah. Okay. Say
which
you can continue.
perfect. So the measured detection range is also shown like this in our product sheets. Before the detection range is measured, then of course the detector has also some preconditions that needs to be specified or configured in order, for instance, to avoid false triggers. But the detection range is also measured in installation side of 2.5 and 3 meters. And I almost said, of course, because it's a ceiling mounted detectors, they are tested in full 360 degrees circle. And there are very specific rules, as I just mentioned before as well, giving to determine the range. If we could have a look, Torben, you who is presenting right now, I'm not, but we have the to the upper right, we have an example of a measurement. And as you can see, before suppliers could actually have the red ring is indicating the norm saying this is the detection range that you can have for this detector. But actually before, as a supplier, you could go to the even outermost point of the circle, so you can have an even bigger detection range. But that is not, then it's not what you see is what you get. So this is why this standard is also very good, because everybody needs to be inside a certain specific range in order to have the detection range. And the representation of the measured detection in our product sheets will be as the following table, where you have the installation side of 2.5 and 3 meters. Then you have the walking detection range, and by walking I mean you move across the detector, not across, but through the detector. And then you have the B1, it's across, so there you move inside the detection range. The C is to watch, or the radial detection range, which is the most challenging parameter or detection range for any detector. And then the last one is the presence, where you are just right below the detector. And all the specifications or the detection range are according to 2.5 or 3 meters. And again, you see the two symbols, as I mentioned, the dummy, then we have used a dummy for testing, and then we have the human body icon over there. So yeah, that was all from our side.
So thank you very much for your presentation. And so now we can go to the question side. We have already some questions. And the first one was about the DALI. This plugin which you showed, it has a connector, but you can connect it also to iOS devices, because a lot of new phones do not have anymore this AirPlug jack. Can you more explain how it's connected to device?
Yeah, if you don't have the mini jack at your phone, you can have an adapter, and this
Okay.
adapter will actually fit into your phone and into that you have the mini jack at the other end. There could be some issue because there's a lot of adapters on the market, especially if you have a phone. It could be and these have to be a original one, not any one, because some of the adapters have built in an amplifier, so it actually amplifies the signal. Because what we're using is that we are using actually the sound output, and the dongle is converting the sound output to infrared communication to the detector.
Okay, so but this adapter, this is not a device that you are offering, but we should
No,
find it
not.
or
Yeah, it should be depending of your brand of your
okay.
smartphone.
So it's
It could,
it's then from the installer or the programmer who will do that, he should find this adapter for a phone jack. Is it
yeah,
correct?
it's correct.
Okay.
Sometimes it's delivered along with your smartphone, but not always. So
Okay.
you have to find the adapter that fits to your phone.
Okay. So we have one live question, so please pay attention. And Raymond is asking a question. Please, Raymond. Just a sec. Raymond, do you hear us? And can you try to ask the question?
Yeah, I hear you. My question is, do Niko produce also more simple DALI broadcast detectors to control DALI luminaires in one line?
You can actually you can put up all the luminaires into just one zone, and that it will act kind of a broadcast communication.
Okay. So
So,
actually the sensor stays the same. Just you
yeah.
connect all the devices in one zone. Okay.
Yeah, instead of dividing up to different zones or more zones, you can say, okay, now all the luminaires will be in zone one, and that could be, you can say, as a broadcast,
Okay.
not addressable.
But by default, the sensor is in broadcast mode, or you should switch it to the broadcast mode.
It's up to you. It's started in broadcast, and you could decide it should be in addressable.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your answer. And we have one more question. Yes, please. Yes, you can ask the question. Who is this? Is from Sia Electricis from Ventspils. Please ask your question. Do you hear us? Hello, your microphone I think is switched off. Can you try to switch on?
It might be muted.
Okay, yeah, it seems so. There was also one question before that in the chat, and this was, what was the advantage of sensors? But I think all the presentation was mainly about the advantages. I think so, and you answered it in full details. What are the
The advantage, of course, is that if depending on your requirements, it has either a comfort element. That means you have exactly the light intensity that you need at your desk.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, when you have sufficient daylight, or you have daylight, incoming daylight at your desk, the detector will automatically adjust the light level, so you have the light at your desk that is required, so you can do your daily work. This is one aspect. And the other aspect is, of course, that the detector will save you some energy, because you have only light when it is required. If you leave the room, the light will automatically switch off after a certain time or period. So that is the energy way of looking at it.
It seems that as sensors are also growing in the possibilities and options what to offer, then we must define what we expect from the sensor to know.
Yeah. it is the requirement, what do you actually want, because there's a lot of options that is available. You just pick one of the options. What kind of functionality do you actually need or want in your room? Should it be that the light should automatically turn the light off, on, sorry, when you enter the room? Or is it so that you want to push a push button in order to switch the light on? And that's kind of functionality. Do we need some adjacent area? Do we need, it could be in a conference room or in a classroom, where you need some multi-zone. That means the board light should be part of the daylight zone sometimes, and sometimes only controlled separately for the board. Like, so that's a kind of functionality that is already built in.
I have one more question. Is it possible that during daytime the sensor serves as a light sensor, but during nighttime or absence of people it serves as security sensor? Can it do both of the versions?
Yeah, it depends on the settings, because if you don't want to have the light switch off, you just set the off delay time to infinity, and that will see that if in night mode the light will never switch off. So you have a higher kind of security. That means that it looks like there's somebody present in the office. So that's also a possibility that can be. So either could be comfort, security, energy consumption, and so on. That's options that we are offering.
But can it send also the signal as a separate signals, one for switching the light and the second signal for the security system, in case there is a detected movement when it shouldn't be, or when it's on security? Is it possible with DALI sensors?
We're offering two kinds of detectors.
Okay.
We're offering the standalone, and the standalone is, as I said, is a standalone. That means
Of
this
course.
detector operates in the room and only for this room. If you want other detectors, you have to have the, as you shown in the beginning of the presentation, you need to have the DALI BMS detectors. And that means the DALI BMS detectors is connected up to a BMS system. And in that case, it is kind of the BMS system that actually provides the information. What do you want? The detector is kind of a dummy kind of thing, so they're only a slave. It doesn't have any intelligence built in. It is in the BMS system.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And we have one more question. Can we expect some new designs for detectors? What do you see? Some design changes or advantages?
I'm very glad for your question, because actually, as you speak, we are planning to launch a new detector range, and that will hit the market in the end of the year, and it is a total different design. Actually, these detectors, new detectors, have won several design awards. Among the Red Dot Award, the Design Award, and the Bronze Award. So I'm happy to announce that the new detectors in new designs and new functionalities will hit the market at the end of the year.
So end of this year? So it's still under development, or we can have maybe some samples already before that?
You will hear much more about it in the end of the year.
Okay, perfect. So we will be expecting the news from you. So do we have any more questions from the audience for that? No, it seems that all the questions were answered. So I would like for you to remind that now in our plan there is a lunch break. It's a very important time in the daytime. So you can go and enjoy your lunch, and we will meet again at 12 and 10 minutes with the Lucidus case study and next presentations from Nedal and FLIR. So thank you very much for your attendance, and see you soon.